I think I see a bunch of people on here, but I'm just going to give it a second as in case somebody is having technical difficulties. Wow, this is a great group. Fantastic. My name is Liz Matson. I work for the Public Health Department. I am nervous that no one can hear me. Can one person nod or raise their hand or something that there's audio? Great. Okay, fantastic. Thanks. Speaking into the void. Let's see, I'm going to bring up the chat here so I can see it if anyone has any questions. I work for the Public Health Department, and in these COVID times, Toby and myself, who's also on this call from the Public Health Department, have transitioned to a lot of community assistance around understanding the guidelines that are coming out locally and from the state for different businesses, different activities, different sectors. And so we are, although we are somewhat practiced in that, new things keep coming out. We keep learning many new things about the businesses that people are in. So we're essentially here to support you and try to get your questions answered. That said, we may not know necessarily the questions you have. I read through the guidelines and I think, oh, this is so clear. It answers all the questions. And then I talk to somebody who really is in whatever particular business, and it becomes clear that there are a lot of gray areas. And so one of the things I want to do is provide you an opportunity to ask questions in those gray areas, and then I can come back to you and share what the guidance is, either from the state or from our local health officer. So first, I'd just like to welcome you. I see a couple of familiar names and faces. Toby in the chat, if you can see the chat, for those of you who can see it, has just posted the expanded personal services guidance, which came out from the state on Monday. I am guessing that most of you, some of you have had a chance to look through it and think about what it looks like for your particular business, for your particular site, for your clients, for your staff, if that's applicable. I'm guessing that not everybody has necessarily read through it. But what I do want to say is what Jill said at the intro to the call is, so the way that it's working from the state is they are providing guidance for different businesses. So we've, for instance, been waiting for the guidance for expanded personal services for a bit. They released that on, I think on Friday. And what they said, what the state said to us was, these can't restart before the 19th, which is this coming Friday. But actually the local health officer decides when it can restart. And so we haven't, he hasn't decided that yet. And that's what Jill was saying, that reopen plan will be posted hopefully Thursday, if not Thursday, Friday, and that will say exactly when those services can restart. So are there any questions about that particular piece before I move into the guidance? Okay. All right. So I don't know if, I'm hoping you guys have seen it, but this is the actual guidance. For those of you who are on video, I would love to see just like a thumbs up for those of you who have had a chance to read through it. I see, okay, a lot of thumbs up. This is fantastic. If you haven't, that's totally fine. Toby has posted the link to it in the chat box. So I'm starting to see some questions in there. I'm just going to roll through a quick overview, and then we'll start going through the questions one by one and try to get everything addressed. Mostly I want this to be your time because I'm sure you have questions, and I want to make sure we get through as many of them as possible. So one thing that Jill also said that has been confusing for a lot of sectors is around the plans. So the guidance asks that every business has a plan prior to reopening, and the guidance outlines those elements of what needs to be included in the plan. I hear somebody's not muted. I can't see who it is, but if you're not muted, could you? That would be awesome. You have to have the plan on your site. You need to have a plan before you restart, but you don't need to submit it to us for approval. There's no individual approval by business. Essentially, it's our hope, our expectation, and the state's expectation as well, that you'll read through the guidance and follow the guidance as it applies to your business and site, but we're not going to provide individual approvals for anyone. That said, if you have questions that aren't answered and you want to know how to do something, I'm happy to work through that with you and figure out how we can do that. I'll post my Actually, Toby, would you throw my name and email in the chat box? You guys are welcome to reach out to me if there's anything that doesn't get addressed or something comes up as you're starting to open and you have ongoing questions. So this guidance covers a lot of different kinds of businesses: facials, estheticians, skincare, nail salons, body art, tattoos, piercings, non-healthcare massage. And even within one of those sectors, different sites, different clientele, different businesses look very different. So I guess what our hope and expectation is, and I think the state has done a decent job of coming up with pretty general guidelines that hopefully will be specific enough to allow you to make decisions that protect both you, your staff, and your clients. So maybe since I saw so many thumbs up and it looked like people really had read the guidance, instead of going through it little by little, I'll just open it up to questions and we'll kind of see where we are, because I don't want to waste folks' time if you have taken the time to look through it. So I'm just going to stay quiet for a minute, and you can either unmute and we can see how that goes, or you can post a question to the chat box.
I have a question. I have a quick question. This is Zoe.
Great.
So one of the things that I saw was we need to know who to contact at the health department if an employee or a client does test positive for COVID. So I was wondering, what is the best contact so that I can have that recorded in that case?
Sure, that's an excellent question. So I'm just going to give you the main public health phone number, and that would be the place to contact if if someone comes with a positive diagnosis. That would be the place to call to get guidance. It's 530-265-1450. You can press 0 to talk to a real person instead of going through the whole menu, which takes a while. So that's the appropriate public health contact for your plan.
Great, thank you.
And you guys also have my email now. It's in the chat box. So you can also use me if that's helpful. Perfect. Yeah, if you want someone whose face you've seen before.
Hopefully we won't have to use that, but
exactly. Yeah. All right, so I see a question in the chat box. So is the guidance non-applicable to massage this time? Will we know what our protocol is on Thursday? And where will we see this? And know if we are a go to open. So that's a great question. So the guidance is applicable to massage, to non-healthcare massage. Healthcare massage, like oncology massage, has, at least in most cases, already been given the go-ahead to proceed. So the earliest that massage or any of the services including this guidance could start is on Friday. And we will release our reopen plan, which will say if Friday is the first day you can start, or if it's a date later than that. So 19th is the earliest. And the reopen plan is posted on the county's website for COVID, which is, Toby, can you pop that in the chat box? It's mynevadacounty.com/coronavirus. And so that reopen plan says what services can be provided within the guidances that are available and what date those services can start. And so the Public Health Department has committed to have that revised with detail about personal services probably by Thursday, but no later than Friday. Does that answer your question, Marcia? Okay, well, if it doesn't, let me know. Marnie says, can you repeat the number or type it in? Yeah, Toby, if you could type it in, but I'll also repeat it. It's 530-265-1450. Connie has a question. Is there a certain number of people allowed in a salon or a limited number? And this actually will apply to all locations included in the guidance. Because every site is different, there isn't a specific cap on the number of people allowed in a physical location. What there is requirements around how far apart you have to be able to be from each other. So I don't know exactly what kind of industry you're in, Claire, but for instance, hair salon seems like one that is you're able to visualize, or maybe piercings, where you have to be able to have 6 feet between any customers, and if possible, depending on the service, between between the person who's providing the service and the client themselves, that's obviously not possible for a lot of the services we're talking about. And so that's where you get into the guidance around masking and other protections. Let's see. Marcia asks, yes, is massage going to have a different protocol? So massage guidance is included in this expanded personal services guidance, the link that Toby put in the chat box. And so that specifically addresses personal services broadly and then has a section specific for massage. I'm just reading through the chat box. So if anybody else has another question, please let me know. Connie asks, do sneeze guards need to be at all nail tables or do face masks suffice? Connie, I think that, let's see, I'm gonna go to the nail section of the guidance here. It's a slightly more complicated answer than that. So workers need to wear face coverings at all times, which I think is probably what you're referring to as a mask. During procedures, workers should consider wearing a face shield for eye protection as well as a face covering. So that would be the face shield plus the mask, but it's not mandated, it's recommended. Customers should wear face coverings during the entirety of their service. So they should be wearing a face mask the entire time. And then it also goes on to talk about gloves and other disposable supplies. So sneeze guards are not mandated, but they are mentioned in the guidance and encouraged in settings where you can't provide 6 feet of distance or you can't wear a face guard, but masking is required. Let's see, Mia asks, is this the room for massage? Yes, it is. Let's see, Corey, in a recent email from Environmental Health, it says we can open with county health official approval. Will we need to call for appointments for this? No, so there's not going to be individual approval, Corey, for each individual shop. Essentially, that's what that reopen plan is going to be. It's going to give, when it says whatever the date ends up saying, that will apply to all businesses that are included in this guidance. So that will apply to nail salons, that'll apply to tattoo parlors, that'll apply to piercings, non-healthcare massage, facials, the whole shebang. And you won't need individual approval, but the expectation is that you do follow the guidance related to your business. Does that answer your question, Corey? Okay, nice. Julie asks, what is the guidance for serving elderly? So that's a really good question because as many of us have heard, folks who are 65 plus or might have compromised immune systems are at additional risk for serious infection as a result of COVID. The governor recommends that folks who fall into those categories, if at all possible, remain at home until the end of stage 4. I know that that's not possible for everybody. Some of the people owning the businesses we're talking about might fall into some of those categories. So as Jill said at the intro, none of this is risk-free. It's really just a plan to try to reduce risk and to mitigate the risks that we understand and the ways that we know we can try to reduce them. So I don't know that I have a black and white answer on guidance. There isn't any different guidance for serving people who might be at special risk due to COVID. Yeah, it's a tough one. But I think some of the things in here, like, I mean, really the way to think about it is these protections, one of the reasons we do them is to protect people who are most at risk, folks who have compromised immune systems, who are 65 plus or have other issues that might put them at greater risk for COVID. And so that's why we're doing a lot of this, is to try to protect them in particular, as well as our community as a whole. Let's see, will all service, this is a question, I don't see your name, will all service in our group be released together, or are, for example, nail salons separate from, say, medical spas? My understanding is that approval for the group as a whole will be released together. Do sneeze guard, I think we answered that. Could I please address liability? I actually can't really address liability. I would encourage you to talk to your insurance provider or whomever you might talk to about your liability on a regular basis. The guidance, I actually, yeah, that's not something I don't think we can address. yeah, I know that different insurance providers have made different requests of their businesses, but I don't know that I can help you with that one. Are medical spas slash Botox, can medical spas slash Botox clinics open on Friday? Friday would be the earliest they can open. We're still waiting on the go-ahead for the date when businesses in this category can open. That will happen as part of the reopen plan that will be posted on the county's website. The earliest it would be Friday. The Director of Public Health, Jill Blake, talked about being committed to getting that reopen plan revision released either Thursday, hopefully Thursday, but Friday at the latest. Amber says, hello everyone, I'm driving but need information about massage services. Amber, I'm happy to give you any information you need, but I don't know exactly what you're looking for. Claire, will this be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded. Molly, I assume that the link to the recording is sent out to everybody who was part of the meeting. It looks like you're saying yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure this time with the registration if we had the ability to do that. Last time we didn't capture email addresses of participants, so we weren't able to do that, but we did post it to the county's website as soon as it was ready. So it will be on that reopening page for the county's website for sure.
Nice, thank you. And that's, if you go to mynevadacounty.com/coronavirus, you can find all of that. Let's see, Brandy Hill asks, will massage and facials open at the same time? Brandy, I don't have any indication that businesses that are part of this guidance, that any of them will be pulled out in particular, but if they were, that would be released in the reopen plan. Thus far, the county public health department has grouped businesses as the state has grouped them and has opened sectors in the same way that the state has provided guidance. Mia says, can you put in the address where you just mentioned in the chat where we can find the recording? Toby, could you pop that in there? The coronavirus My Nevada County page. Thanks. Oh, look, Molly did it. There you go. And Toby just put up the guidance again. Any additional questions?
Liz, I think you missed one about whether the county's guidance will be the same as the state's.
Yeah, so at this time, I don't anticipate that the county will have any separate guidance for the businesses relating to this group. That said, Molly and Toby and I and a number of other people are responding to a lot of community questions about how do I do this right? How do I do that in this particular setting? My business doesn't look quite like this. How do I do it? And so what we have on that same website is an FAQ where we're trying to capture the community questions that aren't exactly addressed in whatever the guidance might be. So if you have questions that you feel like you, as you start to get into this process, you realize, oh, something isn't quite, like I'm not exactly sure how to address that, I'm happy to support you in figuring out what the answer is, and then we post those answers to the FAQ as applicable. Hannah says, can I have the link for nail salons? Thank you. Yeah, so Hannah, that's the link that Molly just posted, maybe 4 messages above yours. It's called the Expanded Personal Services Guidance, and it has a section that's general for personal services and then a section specific to nail salons. Let's see, Divine Piercing asks, when under the mask piercing slash tattoos is actually allowed, how will we know? That is a very good question. So at this time, we're essentially relying on the state to provide the guidance on what something like this looks like. Because you're on this call, I'm guessing that you are looped into the county's business information in one way or another. But the sort of final word on what the guidances look like is from the state's website. It's, let's see, it's covid19.ca.gov. And then the when is the part that's in the reopen plan. So I would suggest you keep checking the state's website on what the guidance looks like for tattoos and piercings. That's where we get our information as well. That said, I'm guessing that the county will continue to hold these meetings, at least as we continue to, I see Sheila nodding, so I'm thinking yes, as we continue to roll through stage 3 and into stage 4, so we can continue to share these guidances with you. And so, yeah, this may be another venue for that as well. Divine Piercing, let me know if that didn't answer your question. All right, Kelly asks, I'm noticing PPE, that stands for personal protective equipment, gloves, face masks, disposable aprons, etc., are becoming more difficult to find and more expensive to purchase. Do you anticipate these new guidelines to increase a shortage? You know, it's interesting, we've been in the public health department deeply involved in how accessible PPE is and is not over the last few months. And what I've noticed is it kind of comes in waves. So face masks will be broadly available everywhere. You'll see them at Staples, they'll be at Amazon, and then they'll kind of retract a little bit. So I don't know that, I don't know what the open market looks like for these things at the moment. But I think that you're probably right that as more and more businesses open, the market changes, and hopefully it is resilient enough to respond to everybody's needs as time goes on. Mia Gleason says, I've heard hair salons are charging a cleaning tax because they can't have as many clients and the same costs. Is that legal? Mia, I cannot speak to whether that is legal or not. I don't know. Let's see, Molly says email questions. Oh yeah, so Molly Dick has provided an email address in the chat box, COVID-19 recovery at Co-Nevada CAUS, where businesses can submit any questions you might have. Mia asks, are masks mandated for massage clients for the whole session? I'm going to go to the massage section of this guidance. Let's see, workers must wear a face covering at all times and should consider wearing a face shield for eye protection if available. Customers must wear face coverings during the entirety of the massage service, and then provide any hand treatments at the last part of the service. There is a bullet about facial massages, so I'm just going to read this out. Evaluate whether facial massages or other hands-on work to the face will be offered. If providing such services, non-latex gloves for this part, use non-latex gloves for this part of the treatment. Facial massages should not be performed if it requires removing a client's face mask. So the short answer to that is yes, face coverings are mandated for clients for the entire session, but there is a little detail around what a facial massage might look like. Lynn asks, will practitioners in these businesses be recommended or required to get regular COVID-19 testing? There isn't anything in the guidance around testing, but I'm really grateful for you asking that because I do want to share just with our community broadly that testing is widely available at this time. It's at no cost to the client. There is a testing site there are lots of places you can get testing, but there's a public testing site in Grass Valley and one in Truckee. You register for an appointment online or by phone, and it's in Grass Valley, it's drive-through, you don't even get out of the car. I did get tested to see what it was like, although I don't have any symptoms, and it is, it's not super comfortable, but then it's over and you get to find out what the situation is. So all of that is to say there aren't particular recommendations around testing for clients or for staff. However, the guidance is very specific around symptom checks for both clients and staff. So there's a link in the guidance to the CDC in terms of what you might be asking staff to check, to report on daily in terms of symptoms. It also asks that you ask clients if they have anyone who's experiencing COVID-like symptoms or anyone in their family, and if so, reschedule their appointment. And then upon arrival to ask them similar questions, and if so, to reschedule their appointment. So I would take a look at that and also look at the CDC guidelines around what the symptoms are. It's sort of all the things you would expect that you've heard a lot about, likely. In addition, one that I just want to mention that was a sort of a late addition to the CDC's list is loss of taste or sense of smell. Let's see, Divine Piercing says, okay, it looks like the answer worked for you. Hannah says, thank you. Let's see, oh gosh, I just haven't scrolled down far enough. Thank you for being here. Does anyone have info about where to purchase gloves right now? This is a question from Mia. I don't have any particular tips, but maybe if someone does, they can post it in the chat box. Oh, someone already did. Claire says I purchased from Massage Warehouse. There you go. Will couples massages be allowed? That would be 4 people in one treatment room. Thanks for that question, Kendra. I'm gonna go back to my massage guidance here. It doesn't specifically address couples massage. I think it would probably depend on the space that you have. What it does address is how far people have to be from each other. So for instance, if you have 2 staff working in a room, they would need to be able to maintain the 6 feet of social distance from each other during the session. So that would depend on the kind of space you might have. So it's not disallowed, but it would have to fit into the guidance that is laid out from the state. Marnie says, okay, another tip about masks. Thanks, Marnie. Kendra says, some clients are going to have a very hard time breathing down in a face cradle with a mask on. I have heard of a potential alternative, securely draping a pillowcase underneath the face cradle in order to catch droplets while allowing a customer to breathe. Can we create variations? The massage guidance is pretty particular. It does say that customers must wear face coverings. It doesn't sound to me like a pillowcase on the massage table would meet the face covering requirements. It needs to be attached to the client's face. So if they wanted to use a pillowcase fabric for that, that would be allowable, but the face covering is pretty specific for clients. It may be that for all clients, they're not able to receive services at this time if they have restrictions around if they're able to wear a face covering. Sheila says, a question just came into me. Okay.
Hi, I got a question that just came in, and it was regarding the smocks. Clarification on smocks and to change them out with each client. Will a new apron with each client be okay instead?
So let me look at the guidance here. Again, I think that it talked about it differently for different services. Let me just take a look. I think it mentioned, yeah, I don't exactly remember where that bit about smocking. Does anyone else have it in front of them that they can find it faster than I can?
I know for estheticians and facials, it said that it's suggested that we change those for each client. So what I've done is just bought a scrub top and enough that I can change it with each client.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't about the whole outfit or anything. It just said suggestion either to change the scrubs or I'm trying to find out where it was.
Okay, thanks. Actually, that was the correct terminology I needed to be able to do a find in my PDF. So it says, and this is for all the businesses, workers should consider changing their own clothes after each customer or wearing scrubs or a clean, launderable, or disposable smock if available. So it's not mandated, but it is recommended. Oh, look, and Toby popped that in. Thanks, Toby. Let's see, Cindy asks, can you review if masks can be removed for a particular procedure like a facial or facial waxing? Yeah. So there are a few procedures in here that, that do require the mask to be removed, particularly under esthetician, skincare, and cosmetology services. So workers must wear a mask at all times. Disposable gloves, where was this? I'm sorry, everyone. There are so many different bits. I really appreciate you.
Customers must wear face coverings at all times while in the facility, except when the face covering must be removed for the performance of services involving that part of the face.
There you go. Thanks, Claire. All right, let's see. Hannah has a question. Nail salon need face shields between clients and nail technician, or nail tech and clients need to wear a mask. So for nail salons, clients and technicians do need to wear face coverings. In public health, we call them face coverings because masks are kind of like a hospital-y term, like a healthcare term, but yes, a mask. A face shield is not required, but is recommended in a couple of different settings, particularly if you have to be within 6 feet of someone's face. Yeah. Thanks, Marty, for the poster tip. Lots of info coming in around where to get PPE. Hannah says, I mean for pedicure. Oh, for pedicure, it's still the same guidance, whether it's a manicure or a pedicure, that clients and staff need to wear masks, and face shields are recommended, but not required. All right, I'm just gonna be quiet for a second and see if any other questions come in. Brandy says, to clarify, clients are required, or is it suggested they wear a mask? Can face shields be used versus face masks? Clients are required to wear a mask. It goes through sort of different eventualities in the guidance, but for the most part, clients are required to wear a mask. There are some moments, like if you're working in someone's face for a facial, where the mask can be removed. A face mask is not an equivalent to, I'm sorry, a face shield is not an equivalent to a face mask. If someone's wearing a face shield, it should be in conjunction with a face mask. And those recommendations are mostly for staff. The Zooms are always so awkward with the quiet moments. I'm just waiting to see if people are typing. Kendra says, are there specific regulations for linens during massage? I assume sheets need to be changed out after every massage, so would blankets. Yeah, Kendra, there are quite a bit of, there's pretty specific guidance around linens. There's also guidance for things like chairs in waiting rooms. If you have a soft couch, it's recommended that you couldn't sanitize, it's recommended that you remove it, but specifically for massage, you have to, so I'll just read you the section on linens. Consider alterations to the treatment table setup to support required cleaning and disinfecting protocols. This could include using disposable face cradles or protecting the table warmers, bolsters, and other items. Pillowcases should be removed and replaced with each client. All the washable barriers should be removed and replaced with each client. Barriers are not a substitution for required cleaning and disinfecting. So essentially you would remove everything, disinfect the table as well, and then put a whole fresh set on. Oh, thanks, Toby. All right, I'll give it another minute in case anyone has additional questions.
Liz, I might be interested to hear how businesses, if they have any tips on communicating with their clients and sort of moving forward in their business with the uncertainty, if there's any tips or suggestions that you might want to share with other people that are in the same business. We'd love to hear that.
I've done a few things already. So first of all, I've updated all of the things that I am implementing. The Massage Federation has had for quite some time, has had some recommendations that are actually much more stringent than the state recommendations. So I've updated that on my website, on my booking page, and then I'm in the process right now. I've never really been one to send out mass mailers, but I'm putting from my booking system, I'm transferring everything to an Excel worksheet and then doing like a mass mailer from that through like MailChimp to update everyone on my protocols. And one of the things that I've done is on my booking system, I've switched everything over to online. So now they actually have to do an intake with each booking. And then, you know, when I'll text them, I've notified them of everything. Like I've increased the amount of time between clients, and, you know, I'll text them when they're in the car, and then they may have to have their temperature taken. So I've given them all this information. So there's a variety of places that they can read that, from the email that I'll send to their booking reminder to the web page. So it's kind of hitting them from a variety of different locations, so they kind of can't miss it. And then obviously I'm going to be talking to each client as well, and verifying everything that they've already said through the booking system. Just go through a quick like COVID checklist, and that everything is still the same.
Have you received a positive response from your?
Yeah, everybody's just been really excited to get back in and get massage, and I haven't really had anyone give any kind of negative response. There have been a couple of clients who have, for whatever reason, like I have some immune compromised clients that won't be coming back to see me right away. And some who have some like financial problems right now that aren't going to be able to come see me right away. So really the only kind of sort of negative, like I'm not going to be able to come in response has been around other things besides things that I've implemented.
Thanks. That's I really appreciate that. There are a couple more questions and we only have a few minutes left, so I'm gonna see if we can address those. Hannah asks, the nail salon is 900 square feet. How many people can I allow? There's not a specific number, but you can only allow the number of people that allow for social distancing. So everyone there has to be 6 feet between customers and 6 feet between staff. So that will be different depending what the space looks like. So there's not a specific number, Hannah. I know that's kind of a challenge, but you need to be able to in your space allow for 6 feet between services. Marnie says, would you say this checklist stands for all types of businesses? I feel people keep wondering what they need to reopen. The retail, so that's the retail guidance. It's similar, but not exactly the same for personal services. Personal services has much more, honestly, to be blunt, one of the reasons that it was more delayed than something like retail is there is a higher risk of infection between the kinds of services that are offered in this grouping. And so that's why the restrictions are somewhat different than retail and really more specific and restrictive. So I don't think, Marnie, you can necessarily use that particular checklist. I think that you do have to use the guidance specific to your business because it does offer services at a higher risk. Amber asks, regarding massage services, will we have to replace the table warmer and blanket, or would removing the sheet be sufficient? Amber, I don't know exactly what that looks like in your space, but from my understanding of the guidance, everything that can be washed every time needs to be washed. And then the table itself needs to be disinfected. So I don't think you could reuse something between clients that can't be disinfected or washed. Brandy asks, will the health department be making regular visits from here on out to reinforce that businesses are following through with these guidelines? Brandy, the answer to that depends a little bit on the business. For instance, restaurants, pools, those sorts of things get visits from environmental health because their licensing is part of that, but we will not be visiting massage parlors as far as I know. It's really incumbent upon you to have a plan and to implement the guidelines per the state's specifications. Oh, Molly gave a slightly different answer there. Okay. Marnie says, I mean, essentially you're looking for a state checklist for personal services. I don't remember seeing that on their website. Let me just look. I'm on the state's website right now looking at the personal services section.
So we're going to be wrapping up in 1 minute, going back
okay.
to another breakout room. If we want to,
Thanks,
Molly,
Sheila.
you want to post your email in there?
Oh
please?
yeah, I have it ready to go. That's perfect. Yeah, no, I don't. There is not a checklist for personal services at this time. You have to use the full guidance. Brandy, we're here to help. Okay, so no questions. For some reason, it's not letting me post to the chat box. So maybe Molly or Toby could put the COVID recovery email in there. And if you guys have any additional questions related to your business opening, please feel free to email those and you'll get a response from a county staff person. Anyway, I really want to thank you for all being here. I'm super grateful for the time and attention you've put into protecting yourselves, your staff, and our community.
Let's see. Well, we probably are pretty close to having everybody back. We may have had a few folks drop out. So I want to welcome you back. Thank you for being here. And at this point, we're all back together. So there is a chance that you were in a breakout room and that was valuable information to you, but you also